Welcome to the deep dive. Tonight we're heading into, well, the deep woods of Upper Michigan, chasing a mystery that's been around for ages. It's the Paulding Light. Heard of it? It's this weird glow people see, and it's got everyone talking for decades, really.
It really has. And we've got a bunch of material you sent in, old news clippings, forum posts with eyewitness stuff, even the official scientific take on it.
Yeah, that slightly drier report. So our mission, basically, is to sift through all this, the science, the stories, and figure out, why does this one light keep grabbing people's attention?
It's fascinating right off the bat, isn't it? How just a light appearing where maybe you don't expect it becomes this magnet for explanations, all sorts.
Totally.
We're not just looking at like photons here.
Yeah.
We're seeing how people react to the unknown, how we try to make sense of things. It says a lot about us, actually.
Okay, so let's paint the picture. Imagine you're out there near Paulding, Michigan. It's pretty remote, dark woods.
Proper dark, not city dark.
Right. And then, boom, a light pops up in the distance. But it's not, someone's porch light.
No, definitely not. Witnesses usually say it's like a single point of light, but the thing is, it's not static.
Exactly. It changes. Sometimes white, then maybe red, even green, they say.
The color shifts are a big part of the reports.
And it moves. Like it might sway a bit or zip across the horizon and then just vanish.
Yeah, the movement's key too, not just sitting there. And it always seems to be along this one particular stretch of road. They even call it Paulding Light Road now.
Only after dark, too. Classic spooky timing.
Well, that variability is crucial, I think. If it was just some steady, boring light, I doubt it would have become this whole legend,
Good point.
It's the fact that it seems to change, almost like it has agency. That's what really fuels all the different ideas about what it could be. And the consistent spot, well, that just adds to the feeling that it's a thing, a specific phenomenon.
Right. So, okay, something weird keeps happening. Naturally, our first instinct is to find a logical, non-ghostly reason.
And there are definitely official theories trying to ground the Paulding Light in something mundane, I suppose.
So what's the main scientific explanation?
The leading one, the one that kind of fits with atmospheric science, points towards car headlights,
Yeah.
but not nearby cars.
Distant ones.
Yeah, distant cars.
Yeah.
Specifically vehicles on U.S. Highway 45, which is actually several miles away from the viewing spot.
Okay, wait. How does a car headlight miles away turn into this weird, color-shifting, dancing light people are seeing up close? That seems like a stretch.
It does sound like a stretch, but it comes down to the atmosphere acting like a lens, essentially.
Oh, okay. Like bending the light.
Exactly. Think about heat haze over a road on a hot day, how things look wavy.
Yeah, shimmering.
It's a similar principle, but often involves what's called a temperature inversion. That's when you get a layer of warmer air sitting on top of cooler air near the ground, which is kind of the opposite of normal. Light from those distant headlights travels through these layers of air that have different densities, and it gets bent or refracted. It can bend the light downwards, making it visible over the horizon when it normally wouldn't be, and making it seem closer.
So it's like, when you put a spoon in a glass of water and it looks bent?
That's a perfect analogy, yeah.
Huh.
Same physics, different medium, air instead of water.
Okay.
And because these air layers aren't perfectly still, they shift and waver. The light passing through them can appear to shimmer, move, sway, even change intensity or color slightly as different wavelengths get bent, more or less.
And the darkness helps the illusion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Out there, it's pitch black. Your eyes don't have many reference points to judge distance or speed accurately. So a distant refracted light source can easily seem like something much closer and stranger. Optical illusions kick in.
Which, I guess, if you can't quite wrap your head around the science, or if it doesn't feel like car headlights, that's when the other stories start creeping in.
That's exactly the transition point, isn't it? When the straightforward explanation doesn't quite satisfy or seems incomplete, humans tend to fill the gap with narrative.
With stories.
Yes, especially in communities where these stories get shared and passed down. They become part of the place. And for the Paulding Light, a lot of those narratives lean into the paranormal.
The classic ghost light idea seems pretty common here. Like, it's the spirit of someone who died nearby.
That's a very common trope for unexplained lights worldwide, and definitely prominent in Paulding. And often there are specific legends attached to give it more local flavor.
Like the train conductor story. I read about that one.
Yes, that's probably the most famous one. The legend says a railroad brakeman or conductor was killed, maybe waving his lantern trying to stop a train, and the light is his ghost, still waving that lantern down the line.
Wow, that's quite an image. very gothic.
It really is. And notice the theme tragedy.
Yeah, seems like a lot of the stories involve someone dying tragically.
They often do. Other versions mention the ghost of a Native American person killed there, or maybe a child lost in the woods. These stories connect the light to a sense of place, history, real, or maybe embellished and imbue it with this feeling of unfinished business or sorrow.
And then, totally shifting gears from ghosts, some people look up, not back in time.
Right, you get the extraterrestrial angle too. Is it a UFO, some kind of alien probe or ship just watching or doing something we can't comprehend?
That explanation pops up a lot with weird lights, doesn't it?
It does. And then there's the even more, let's say, fringe idea.
Which is?
The portal theory, that the light isn't an object or a ghost, but some kind of temporary gateway, maybe to another dimension or reality.
Okay, that's definitely out there. So you've got the science, headlights, atmosphere, and then these really imaginative, paranormal or sci-fi type explanations. Now, the folks who lean towards the more unusual explanations, they must point to specific things as proof, right? What's their evidence?
Well, evidence is maybe a strong word, but what they consistently emphasize is, first, the sheer volume of witnesses. This isn't one person seeing something odd once.
Right, it's been reported for decades.
Decades. Lots of different people, different generations, all describing a generally similar phenomenon in the same location. That persistence and consistency, for many, suggests it has to be something real and ongoing, not just random misidentification.
And they focus on the light's behavior, the stuff that doesn't sound like headlights.
Exactly that. That's the core of the argument against the headlight theory for many witnesses. They'll talk about the light making sudden, sharp turns, or accelerating incredibly fast.
Faster than a car could, presumably.
Way faster, or maybe splitting into 2 or 3 separate lights, then coming back together. That kind of behavior seems, on the surface, really hard to square with distant car lights, even refracted ones.
Yeah, that splitting thing is weird.
It is. And then there's the subjective feeling people report.
Like how it makes them feel.
Yeah. Some witnesses describe a real sense of unease or awe or just profound mystery. Like they know they saw something inexplicable, something beyond the ordinary. That emotional gut feeling can be very powerful in shaping belief.
I can imagine. If you see something truly bizarre, you're not likely to just shrug and say, oh, must be headlights.
Probably not. And finally, there's the power of the legend itself. The fact these ghost stories and other tales have persisted for so long, been told and retold, it sort of creates its own reality, reinforcing the idea that this light must be something special.
Okay, but we have to look at the other side too. What are the arguments against the paranormal stuff? The pushback.
This is where critical thinking comes in, looking for concrete proof. And the big challenge for the paranormal theories is the lack of, well, verifiable physical evidence.
Like no crash train parts.
Exactly. Despite the compelling train conductor story, researchers and local historians haven't found documentation of a fatal train accident at that specific spot matching the timeline when the lights started being reported. No physical remnants, no official records. Same goes for bodies related to other tragic legends.
So the stories might just be stories.
They might be folklore that got attached to the light later on. And then there's the huge factor of suggestion.
Meaning, if you go there expecting to see a ghost light,
you're much more likely to interpret any ambiguous light you see as the ghost light. Your brain fills in the gaps based on the story you already know. Expectation powerfully shapes perception, especially in the dark when you're maybe a little spooked already.
Yeah, that makes sense. And judging things in the dark is just hard anyway, right?
It's incredibly difficult. Judging distance, speed, even the exact source of a light in near total darkness with no landmarks is notoriously unreliable.
So what seems like a super fast darting movement might just be?
It could be a distant light source appearing to move quickly because there's nothing to compare it against. Or maybe it's the observer subtly shifting their own position, making the light appear to move. Or even multiple cars on the highway, creating the illusion of one light moving erratically or splitting.
And the atmospheric effects, we talked about the refraction.
Those atmospheric effects, shimmering, bending, slight color separation due to refraction, could absolutely account for some of the seemingly weird behavior, like changes in brightness or apparent swaying, without needing ghosts or UFOs. Turbulent air can do strange things to light.
Okay, so we're kind of left in the middle, aren't we? There's this very plausible, if maybe slightly complex, scientific explanation involving headlights and air layers.
Grounded in known physics.
And then you have decades of people saying, no, I saw something else, backed up by these really strong local legends.
And that's precisely why the Paulding Light is such an enduring mystery. That tension is what keeps it alive.
The science makes sense, but the stories, they have a pull.
They do, even with a solid scientific explanation available. The history, the sheer volume of eyewitness accounts, the cultural weight of the legends, they all combine to keep the question mark hanging over Paulding. It hasn't just faded away.
It really speaks to that human fascination with the edges of our knowledge, doesn't it? That little thrill of the unexplained.
Absolutely. Whether it ultimately turns out to be just, cleverly disguised car headlights or something genuinely stranger, the Paulding Light serves as this great reminder that there are still things out there that feel mysterious, that blur the lines.
It makes you think, doesn't it? What else that we see every day, things we just dismiss, might have a more interesting story hiding behind them if we just looked a bit closer?
It's a great point. And
Yeah.
maybe that's the final thought to leave you with. Think about your own surroundings. Is there some little everyday mystery, maybe the recurring sound you hear, or a weird coincidence, something you've just brushed off?
Yeah.
Could that be your Paulding Light? Something seemingly mundane that might hold a surprising secret if you decided to really dig into it, to explore the different angles. What unknowns might be hiding in plain sight?